Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're starting, so
You didn't look ready, so.
this is what I look like when I'm ready.
Okay.
How do you do? We're about to unfold the story of Frankenstein. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. Well, we've warned you.
You have been warned. Welcome back to Frankenstein Minute, the podcast that dissects the Universal Frankenstein film series minute by minute. I'm Tom Lang.
And I'm Bill Evenson, and this is minute 62 of Frankenstein from 1931. We're getting to the end, and it's dogs and people running around looking for the monster. We're in the adventurous finale,
Yes.
the climax. We're here. And in this minute, more so than the last minute, or maybe completely in this minute, we're indoors now.
Yeah,
It's
this
an
is all,
obvious
this is
set.
all on sets, yeah.
It's obvious that it looks like a set, but it's a great set.
Yeah, I was
and
gonna
it's
say,
well designed.
You say obvious, but it's obvious only in that it's very stylized. Mm-hmm. It's not a bad set.
It's great.
Apart from the wrinkly backdrop.
You
which
know,
we
apart
discussed
from the
at
fact
length,
that virtually every shot in this minute.
it has a wrinkly backdrop, yes.
Yeah, and I think this is the minute where it's the worst, probably.
Yeah.
So we should probably, I guess we kind of addressed it last week,
Yeah.
but it's a problem.
It is.
And the more I think about it, this is a lot of film that's been used. There's a lot of different shots, a lot of different
a lot of
setups in this
angles,
minute,
yes. Uh-huh.
and they just couldn't get those wrinkles out of the sky.
Well,
so,
but some shots don't have it. I think this minute, almost all of them do. But
yeah, there's like a couple.
there's a couple, but overall, any real wide shot, which is a shame because they're, like we said before, some really nicely framed, nicely lit.
Probably my favorite one is in this minute with the, I call him the canine unit, the guy with the dogs. He stops in the middle of the screen and turns and says, this way or whatever. Yeah,
where they find the guy lying on the ground.
Yes,
Yeah.
and he's, framed by wrinkles.
Yes.
It's just awful.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as we discussed, we loved the film anyway, wrinkles and all.
And I don't know, first of all, this wasn't a problem on VHS. It was
No, it really
less
wasn't.
of a problem.
You could see it a little bit, but not like you can now.
You'd be like a film snob to notice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in 31, maybe you just didn't care.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
look at the pretty pictures on the screen
Yeah,
more.
it might have been a whole different mindset, about it. Now we're, with CGI and everything, we're so used to everything looking, quote, perfect,
Yeah.
that little things like this or matte lines or
Yeah.
things like that, there's some coming up.
There was this is going to date us by a couple of weeks. But no, this will be fine. Upcoming, still hasn't come out yet, the 50th anniversary Blu-ray edition of the Monty Python TV series.
Yes.
And so what you've got with that is they went out and they found a lot of the existing film.
Yes, to
Including the
replace.
existing animation done by Terry Gilliam. Did you see this YouTube video?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm going to say? It's almost as if they've cleaned it up, some of it almost too much, and I worry that it's going to look
gonna
too good.
Too nice, yeah.
Because I'm really used to it looking the way it looked, and in particular the opening credits.
Yeah.
The opening credits of Monty Python looked like shit.
Yes.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, kind of grungy, kind of splicey. And,
Yeah. So now it's not going to look like that. So
Yeah.
now should we eliminate these wrinkles? I don't know.
Well, that was the thing I was going to point out, is that somebody at some point could digitally go in and get rid of them. Should they? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd say leave it alone. I'm at a point where it doesn't detract from my enjoyment of the film.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're there. It's part of it. It's part of the stylized nature of it. Not as much as the films to come. Like I've mentioned, this one's a little more stark.
Yeah.
A little more, I hate to use the term realistic because it's not, but a little more grounded, I guess, than its immediate sequel, which will...
Well, that's an interesting point that I wonder if we could see into the mind of a viewer in 1931, whether they might see this as a very fantastic film.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because it was unlike most anything, certainly made in America.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know,
But then again, we're
things
well
like
past the German
Caligari
films, Caligari.
and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which in hindsight, I was going to reference a lot when the monster comes into Elizabeth's bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
and I totally spaced out on it.
No, I
because
think you
there's-
went way. You totally covered that.
Did
I don't
I?
remember. I don't
Okay,
remember. So my thing on that is, I always look at the Buster Keaton set. I'm looking at it right now, where they put out 2 different versions of a lot of the films, if not all of the films.
Most of them, yeah.
Where they did do a lot of cleanup, and then a version where they didn't do all of the cleanup.
Speed correction and get rid of the jitter. And
yeah. So as long as you've got both versions, I would be okay with somebody cleaning up these wrinkles.
I guess so, and it's the thing about like colorization.
Yeah,
it used to piss me off to no end that people were doing that because I don't particularly like it. But as long as the black and white is still available, it's not like they've completely destroyed every single copy of the black and white so that you can never see it. And the only one available is the colorized.
And this came up recently in my mind tube this week, or I guess now 3 weeks ago, because of we haven't talked about this either, the Metropolis, where they did a colorization and dubbed it. And I just did I spent maybe 20 minutes and just fast forwarding through it.
I didn't even spend that much time, but I did look at it briefly.
And I thought, I was surprised because I thought, well, let's look at this abomination. And I looked at it and I went, this is a piece of work made by people that like this, that love this film. And they want this film to be seen by people. And that seems to be the intention.
I didn't have a whole lot of time to glance through it, but that's the impression I got, is it was done with care and respect.
Yes.
And that's fine. It's certainly better than the Giorgio Moroder.
Oh, we've got an opinion on that one, have we?
Yeah, we do, but that's all right.
See, because I don't have that opinion. Again, this is going to be Frankenstein minute battles.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do that as a bonus episode. Just
find
stuff
things
we
that we disagree
on until we just get pissed off and then slam the microphone down. But we can't afford to be slamming microphones around. But yeah, I actually like that one a lot. I think that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Somebody who loves Metropolis trying to make something out of it.
Maybe. I just thought that it's considerably shorter.
Yeah, that's very true.
And the things they cut out didn't always make sense to me.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while.
And I appreciate the fact that it brought it to a wider audience.
Yeah,
that's great. I can't argue that.
Metropolis came out in what year would that have been?
27.
Well, what I mean is, when did that come out?
Oh, that was 80. I don't know. 4, 5, 3, something.
It's amazing to sort of think that came out
in the
80s, that kind of thing. It's like when I see Frankenstein, just to bring it back to Frankenstein in a theater, it's always amazing to me when I go see Frankenstein in a theater and there are other people there. It's not just you and me.
No. No, it was full the last year when we went.
Yep.
Well, back to the 80s and things being reissued. Coppola did the Abel Gance Napoleon reissue. And when I went and saw that, I believe at the Uptown or Lagoon or something, it was pretty full. So there's always been an audience. Back when the Oak Street Cinema by the U of M was running, they'd have all these great black and white movies. They had a whole Universal month. Universal did these, right around when they did Touch of Evil.
Okay.
They redid the Touch of Evil. They had cleaned up a whole bunch of stuff. They had some Abbott and Costello, some Marx Brothers, some horror, this being one of them.
Right.
And there was always people at them.
Yep.
It was great to see.
That it strikes me there's a huge difference there, which is those theaters were filled with nerds like you and me.
Well, that's true.
And this Metropolis thing we're talking about is on YouTube.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the difference, and that's why I think it's great, is that by this point it's now acknowledged that you shouldn't desecrate these films.
Right.
I don't know why we're still talking about this. No one's even done it. Yeah. We should clean up the wrinkles in this movie.
Yeah. All right. I'll get on that.
We'll go through and clean up all these things.
Frame by frame and clean it up. So yeah, the guy runs by, alerts Frankenstein to the man down, and Frankenstein refers to him.
Before that, I was going to say, I'm sorry, I have something before that. I should have said, we got a lot of guys climbing up and jumping off rocks.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have noticed this except doing it minute by minute. It looks really like they've just got a set and they've got a shot, and they go, well, one guy's got to go climb up the rock and jump off. So you 3 guys go that way. Like it doesn't really look like they're searching for anything. It looks like they're just jumping around on the rocks.
Well, if I were there, I'd probably,
Yep.
I don't know that I'd actually want to find the monster.
That's a good point. I got the rock covered. I got rock duty.
Yeah. I don't know that I'd actually want to be the guy
No.
that stumbles upon him. So maybe that they're just having fun.
And then there's a shot of the monster
Oh, right.
yelling, or what would you call that?
Growling.
Growling.
Yeah. He's typically got his hands in the air.
Damn it!
You people leave me in peace.
I thought if I go up in the mountains, in the rocks, you'd leave me alone.
These ravines and crevices would hide me.
Okay, so then we got the canine unit. Yes.
Canine unit comes up. They find the guy.
Yep. Interesting. His name is
Hans.
It's definitely Hans. We know his name is Hans.
Yes.
The subtitles point out that they call him Hans. So this is Hans.
This is Hans. That I assume is the Hans that Ludwig was waiting for if Hans drops by.
I think that's a big assumption, but I'm going with it. I think I
there's
have it in
probably
my
a lot of
notes.
Hanses.
Is this that Hans? Sure.
There's probably a lot of Hanses in Ingolstadt.
There's a reason to think this might be that Hans. My assumption is Hans is involved in their effort to search for the monster. If Hans is Ludwig's friend, you would think that he would be involved in
We
that.
can go even further.
I see.
I don't know if you saw it. Dino had a theory that Hans in Bride of Frankenstein is always assumed to be Maria's father.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
But he says perhaps it's her grandfather. So I'm thinking it's the same guy. This is Hans. This is Maria's grandfather.
Well, I swear I looked at this and I don't remember that part of it. Okay, so it's that works perfectly. I don't see where there's any
he kind
problem.
Of looks similar. He's got a mustache, and he looks
Okay.
more like the guy in
He's
Bride
wearing
of
his
Frankenstein.
tracht.
Yes, of course he is.
Yeah, he does look more like the guy in. Yeah, he
Bride.
does look like the guy in Bride Frankenstein that gets killed by the monster, drowned.
And
Why we assume.
it's never stated explicitly in Bride that they are that couple is her parents.
Yep,
They
true.
say our Maria, but I would say that about my grandchild.
Sure, if I had one.
If I had one.
Yep.
So I think his theory makes perfect sense.
I like it. So
Yeah.
this is.
This is
Although the only problem I have with it is there's a sense that everybody's working together. You're probably right, but it seems like everybody's working together. We all assembled at the MASH sign.
Yep.
With the different. Okay, then you go this way, you go that way, and Hans is off by himself. So it leads me to believe that he wasn't part of this party, but he
Maybe
easily
not,
could have been.
but
He just went off on his own a little
yeah.
bit because as search parties do, you have to
Well,
go
you
off
said
on your own a
that
little bit.
You even said earlier that people scatter
Yeah.
in different, climbing rocks and jumping around.
That's a good point. I
So-
said it earlier this
minute.
This minute.
Yeah, like
True.
5 minutes ago. So
So, all right, now I have another theory.
All right.
This is a new theory, so I can check this off. I was going to say this later. What happened to Hans? What actually happened to him? And now my theory is he jumped off a rock. And he
That's
twisted his
exactly.
ankle. He's like me. If I twisted my ankle jumping off a rock, that's what I would look like. Oh, he's over there.
End of the world.
Oh, I'd be crying like a baby.
Well, yeah, I don't know if we're supposed to infer that the monster got to him.
I suppose we were supposed
We're
to.
supposed to, but it doesn't really play out that way. I think
The monster is terrorizing the
the countryside, but your theory I think makes more sense because we see him
Hans fell
standing up at the top, growling, waving
Yeah.
his arms, and then hiding. Hans saw him, was startled, lost his footing, twisted his
Fell
ankle.
down.
It makes perfect
Yep,
sense.
that's what happened to Hans.
All right,
So,
we're retconning this whole goddamn thing.
so the dogs just run right over Hans. they run off the
They got
screen
no-
right. They
they
go
got-
right directly over Hans. His hat goes flying,
Yep,
rolling off.
They got no time for Hans.
And then, so the canine unit, that guy takes off.
Takes off.
And then Henry comes up, and Henry's far ahead of the rest of the
His-
team. And this is going to be the rest of the film. He's
Yeah.
ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
He's now lost the ability that he had before of organizing these guys, and he's just running off ahead of everybody.
right.
So that he has to turn around and yell, "Come on, men!"
Yeah.
Before last minute it was "Come on, boys."
Yeah, now
Now it's "Come on, men!" What's going on here? Okay, so Hans. Hans is played by Francis Ford.
Yes, I had.
I was wondering if you had something on it. Because I spent some time looking on the internet to try and figure out if this was true. And the reason I did this is because, and it's something that we talked about in a long, long time ago in a different minute. Hans is on the IMDb as a character.
Yes.
Played by Francis Ford. And there's a quote. They have quotes. And they have a quote from Ludwig, played by Michael Marr. I can't remember the quote now. So it's just completely inaccurate. So I thought, well, is this just completely inaccurate? Because the quote is the Ludwig quote. But no, I believe it is accurate, and if not for no other reason, then it's in the Mank book. It's Alive, Frankenstein has a cast list that's not complete, but pretty close.
Pretty good.
Where
1982 or whenever
that came out, yeah. Well, that's the other part. Now that book is so old, maybe we now no longer consider that accurate. But he credits it as Wounded Villager on Hill / actually I've got it backwards. Before that it says Extra at Lecture, played by Francis Ford.
Oh.
So Francis Ford plays two roles. He's an extra at the lecture and a wounded villager on hill. He doesn't say Hans though.
Okay.
But obviously that's who this is.
Hans.
And it looks like him. If you look him up.
Oh yeah, you look up his IMDb.
And did you?
I did.
And what did you find?
Well, apparently you found something and you're trying to bait me, but go ahead.
I'm trying to bait you. No, I don't really have a lot to say about Francis Ford other than
he'd been around for quite a while.
He's the older brother of John Ford.
Yes.
Which is pretty interesting. John Ford would put him in films, apparently.
Yeah, he'd been around, working with John.
And so that's what he's most famous for.
Yeah.
I've seen a picture of him with Laurel and Hardy on the IMDb page.
Oh, yeah, he got around.
He's a hard guy to Google because I tried to use a traditional or an older maybe method of Googling where I do Francis Ford in quotes and not Coppola.
Oh.
And the first thing that comes up is Francis Ford Coppola. So I don't even know how to Google this guy.
Can you put a minus sign in front of Coppola?
Minus sign. That's what I should have done. All right, listeners. But there isn't a lot to say about Francis Ford.
There's really not. His main claim to fame, like you say, is being John Ford's brother.
Yeah, John Ford's brother.
Did a lot of extra work, a lot of bit parts.
Pieces like this.
Yeah, little small parts.
Yeah.
He's got quite an extensive list, but I don't recall him ever being featured as...
No, I don't have any... Yeah.
Most of
even on IMDb...
Most of it's all uncredited.
Right. Yeah, well, that's true. Like this one.
Yeah.
So it'll say known for, and then it's just a bunch of stuff that nobody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Including this. It's not that he's not even known for this.
No.
Is he dubbed?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No. Doesn't sound like it.
Really? Because to me, it sounds like it. That's why I bring it up. He's like, over there. But I could easily go either way.
Draining because he's twisted his ankle falling off that rock, being startled by the monster.
That's right. Okay.
So,
plus, we've talked about what they had the ability to do back then.
Yeah, dubbing would have been... There is some dubbing in it. When Waldman and Henry are racing down the stairs at the watchtower, after they hear Fritz scream, there is a dubbed in.
Yeah, right.
Also, just outside of Elizabeth's bedroom, when Henry locks her in there, there's a dubbed in. Might even be the same one.
Yep.
So they could, but it was not very common.
Okay.
And in that instance, unless the live recording went horribly wrong somehow, I can't see why they would have.
Okay.
You get 32, 33, there's some dubbing. There's some really obvious dubbing in, say, Duck Soup here and there. There's some spots where it's pretty obviously dubbed, post-dubbed.
You're making me want to watch Duck Soup again. I can't picture
why
what
would
you
you
mean.
not?
Yeah.
Well, why would you need an excuse to watch Duck Soup?
Yeah, exactly. And you're in the era where that movie and all the Marx Brothers movies from that era are musicals. Obviously, that's not.
Yeah.
They're not singing.
Right.
Or maybe they are. Now we're doing a Marx Brothers minute, but
well,
Duck Soup minute.
Duck Soup minute. I could do that.
No.
No.
Let's not do that. I got all these dogs today. Okay, so he's not dubbed. We've decided.
I don't believe
he's not
so.
dubbed.
Yeah,
he is Ludwig's friend or father.
His father-in-law, father/father-in-law.
He also seems to be in his truck.
Yeah. So this is all just right after the wedding ceremony. So
here's why I bring it up. He's in his truck. Nobody else is. Well, maybe not nobody. I absolutely should not say nobody.
Nobody featured.
But a lot of guys, including the guy. So Henry says, you take care of him. We're going to go off. Henry now, for the second time in 2 minutes, is designating, you do this. We're all going to run this way. Which is great. But he looks like a gangster. He's got like
he got a 30 suit on and a fedora.
And a fedora, yeah. He's got a fedora on. So it's a different kind of mob now. It's like my little joke. Okay, so and then well, that's what I think about it. When I look at that group, that guy in particular makes me look at the other guys and I go, yeah, there's a couple of guys that look like they walked off the set of Scarface.
Walked over from,
or something like that, yeah.
Walked over from Warner Brothers.
There you go.
Yeah.
Then they run off.
Well, and I always thought, well, Henry's the one with medical training.
That's a good point.
Shouldn't he help this guy?
Well, I got a theory on that now. He's perfectly happy to get involved after that guy dies.
Yeah.
But before he's dead, he's not interested.
Yeah, I can't do anything with this man.
He's breathing. What do I do with this? Come back in a little bit. Actually, in a Hammer context, that's
exactly what
really
would have-
true.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all
what
that
would
guy
have happened.
is
Yeah.
interested in.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't watched the Hammer films, which I wasn't well versed in the Hammer films when we started this podcast 65 years ago. Now I've seen them all multiple times, and
Did you finally see Horror of Frankenstein?
No, I think I still haven't seen that one.
I keep
But
forgetting
I've
to
seen
bring
all
it.
the Cushing ones.
Okay.
So that's the one that's not Cushing, right?
Yeah, that's the only one that's not.
Yeah. But Peter Cushing he's brilliant, and he's very interested in all kinds of dead people, and to some extent doesn't really. Yeah. In fact, that's kind of the whole. That's the theme of all of them. Don't give a shit about anybody that ain't dead.
That's alive. Yeah.
As soon as they die, bring them to me.
I'm all
It's
over
my
that.
favorite
Ugly
kind
on
of
an ape.
person.
Yep.
Okay, so then they run off, and everybody kicks Hans. He just seems to get beat to shit.
trampled.
He just gets trampled. The dogs ran him over, and then everybody's
It's like
kicking him. His
everybody's-
head seems to move a
everybody's
couple of
running to get a
times.
Tickle Me Elmo. He gets trampled.
Tickle me Elmo. No, it's the Cabbage Patch
Cabbage
Kids.
Patch Kids, is that it? Or
Have you ever been in one of those?
Like a Cabbage Patch Kid?
in a cabbage. Oh my goodness. No, in like a Black Friday type situation.
No, I haven't. I try to avoid them.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure
a
it's
good idea.
terrifying.
It's just like this.
Yeah,
That's me
I'm
on the
sure
ground getting kicked.
I was going to make a Cincinnati Who concert thing, but that would probably be in really bad taste.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's fine. I think we have enough time.
It's been long enough?
time has
Okay.
passed.
All right,
yes.
all right.
So Hans gets the shit kicked out of him
Like
a
kid at
like a Cincinnati teenager at a Who concert.
There we go.
Was it? I feel like it wasn't Cincinnati, but it was Ohio, so that's why it was on WKRP that they talked about it.
Yeah.
I thought it was Cleveland or
Might
something.
have been
but-
Cleveland, but it was, yeah.
I've ruined the joke.
Yeah, sorry.
Let's see. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
actually, I thought I had more notes, but we covered them already.
I think I was just going to say, I think a lot of the sets here are the same ones they used at the beginning, where Henry and Fritz find the guy hanging from the gibbet.
Interesting. So, okay, because I didn't think that, so now I'm trying to remember.
I think it's just different angles on it, different parts of it are used, but I think it's all the same set.
Okay, so now in my head it makes perfect sense. You've got right about where Hans is where the guy's hanging.
Yeah, 'cause it wouldn't make sense to build two sets that similar, that far apart.
And again, I have to go back to this podcast I listened to, Frankenstein Minute, where they talked about the fact that it seems like this movie has too many setups. Like there's multiple times where we've seen. Well, it was especially in the scene in the where they make the monster.
The laboratory.
What do we call it? The laboratory, watchtower scene, where every time you cut to it, it seems like the camera's in a different position. So this movie keeps teaching me that they didn't film it like you would film a movie, which is, okay, we're going to do a setup, and we're going to film the 6 scenes that take place throughout the film.
Yeah.
And then we'll go film
And
other parts.
usually too, he doesn't follow the quote rule of master shot, which is usually the whole scene, and then intercutting with close-ups. He doesn't do a lot of that.
Yep.
Sometimes entire scenes play out in a wider, kind of a deep focus.
This is such a great setup for next week.
Yep.
Next week, I got a lot to say on that topic.
I do too. Actually.
Listen, Tom, I don't know. Did you know that we have a Patreon?
What?
So if you're not familiar with what Patreon is, it's a way that you can give us just a little bit of money, and you get bonus content in exchange for that. You get every episode of Frankenstein Minute a day early, and you also get some interesting, hopefully, bonus content, including we've got a commentary for the movie Dracula,
right?
And just that great, amazing feeling you get that you're helping you're helping us to produce this podcast.
Social misfits continue to
be
social misfits
in a fucking basement.
With dogs tearing around like it's raising Arizona upstairs.
Yeah, so that was my surprise ending for minute 62. But did I ruin? Did you have more?
No, I did not really. I just was
man, that went off so well. But where you'll find this is patreon.com/Frankenstein Minute.
There you go. Join us. And upcoming, we have another commentary, don't we?
God, I hope so.
We did the Dracula, so it only stands to reason that we will do Dracula's Daughter, which does not have an actual commentary track on the Blu-ray. So we're breaking new ground here.
So for $2 a month, you're getting a commentary for a movie that has no commentary. A great movie like Dracula's Daughter.
Yeah. So join us, won't you?